It's called The Last Job on Earth, and it's a little dark, I'll admit it, but then we're gonna have a conversation right when it's over, okay? So watch this and let me know, I wanna hear your feedback on this. Okay, so what I want you to do is, it's been 17 minutes, guess what? So we're gonna have you stand up and find someone else in the room, someone not near you, go find someone in the room, and here's what I want you to do. Talk about two things. One, what did you notice, what were your feelings, things you noticed in the video? And then two, that last quote, this idea that if 50% of jobs are automated in the next 30 years, what kind of skills should we be teaching our students? That obviously was overly dramatic, right, to prove a point. But think about that and think about some of the things you saw in the video. So stand up, find a friend, and then you'll hear a song play when it's time to come back, all right? How are you? What you thinking?
What's that?
What you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of, you look at the manufacturing cars.
I think about autonomous cars like 3 years ago.
Your job is to program.
Yeah. So there'll also be other things you think about, like, so programming and coding would make some sense, but in a world where there's a lot of automation, you almost want to go the opposite and say, like, what are some humanistic things that we could do, right, that separate us from robots? Those elements that robots can't do, probably for a long time, I would hope, like creativity and...
in the cartoon, where's a friend?
It was very isolating. It was very isolating. I got that too. Yeah, in fact...
You need people to talk to just emotionally.
Right, and I think it's almost like saying this could be the way we go if we aren't aware of the fact that there's not the friendship, the connection, face-to-face interactions. She never interacted really, except for her cat that was a robot. Think about it, even the machine, what's funny is the machine still didn't work and they had to kick it to get the medicine out, right? But yeah, it's different. And again, that's done obviously for effect. It's very bleak, and it's not going to make everyone run to coding and programming, but it's interesting you bring up the humanistic part. Where does that exist?
That's one of the challenges. I mean, we've been one-to-one with iPads I think sixth grade for 4 years now. But the kids are missing some interaction. If I don't make them talk.
You have to create the interaction. I agree.
Otherwise, it's all just iPad stuff and games.
We saw that early on too. So we've started really blending SEL with our technology to make sure it's like, let's look at how much time they're on the screen, how much time they're interacting, and then getting up to stand and talk, which I think some kids, like this, oral presentation even in the classroom is powerful. So, time is up. All right, let's see. All right. Head on back. Thank your partner. All right, I'd be curious to hear some things that you guys picked up on. So first off, let's talk about the video itself before we get to kind of this question here. Let me turn that down. There we go. What are some things you noticed just in the video? Just some kind of ahas, wonderings. What did you notice? No human interaction. In fact, the only interaction was with her little robotic cat, right? Well, there was one person that smiled in the entire video. And it was the kid. And she said, I'm going to close the window. I don't want to see you anymore, right?
Yeah.
No?
No, what she closed the window to is when she saw the food line.
Right. Almost closing the window to the empathy that's out there. Like, I don't want to feel bad, so I'm going to close this and not notice the food bank line that was super long. What else did you notice? Yeah.
Retirement village for people over 30.
The retirement? I didn't catch that the first time I watched it, but I saw there's like retirement home for over 30. I was like, wait a minute, that's like most of us here. Okay. So it was deeply not very personal. There's not a lot of collaboration, not a lot of communication, not a lot of things happening. So, knowing that this is an extreme meant to elicit response, what would be the things that we would want our students to have? And I know coding and programming makes sense, but what are some other things we want them to have to really separate ourselves from like the robots, let's say? What are some skills? Collaboration's a big one, right? Problem solving's a big one, yep. Let me turn that down all the way. What else? Critical thinking, yeah. Skills that separate us, right? So it's interesting because I think about 2 years ago, I want to say, the World Economic Forum came together. They do this every 5 years. And what was interesting is they synthesized like what are the skills, the 10 skills that we think are most important to life success in the future market. So in 2015, there's their list. You see it? And then what they do is they predict what they think will be most important in 2020. So some of the things you all just mentioned. And by the way, some of them stayed on the list. Complex problem solving, but still number one. Being able to solve complex problems is something that a robot cannot do. It struggles with that. Now maybe in 30 years, who knows? But right now, that's still something that a robot can't do. Here's some other interesting things. That coordination and people management, still a big part of it. It's dropped down on the list a little bit because of this. Look what stepped up. Critical thinking, creativity. Separate ourselves from the robots. Or we need to be more creative. How do we kind of elicit that creativity in our schools? Some of these got shifted around, and then two new ones, a couple dropped off the list, but two new ones were added to the list. And I find this interesting considering in our district, we're really working a lot on SEL, social and emotional learning, and how does that integrate with technology? And the two skills that they added were emotional intelligence and cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt, right? If something gets in your way and it's broken, don't just say, oh, I can't get this to work anymore, I quit, but let's adapt and keep working. Like, let's figure out a way around the problem, let's solve it, just like that top one about that complex problem solving. So in our schools, we really spend a lot of attention on the interplay of technology and that all of these skills kind of on the right. I was just speaking with someone who's a teacher who was telling me that, yeah, at first when you get the devices, the kids it's like they struggle to communicate with each other because they want to communicate via device all the time. It's important for them to learn how to communicate that way, but it's also important for them to learn how to communicate this way, right? And so we spent a lot of time, this last 2 years especially, like oral and written communication is huge right now in our district. We want every kid to be able to stand up and present. Talk to people, look them in the eye, know when to put the phone away, know when to put their device down. And so a lot of that is paired well with technology. I always hear, we need the balance of technology. You can't have balance unless you have some tech to balance, right? Because some people said, well, just take it all away and then we'll figure it out later. it's not really teaching them balance, it's just saying you'll figure it out later when you get older, right? So really kind of embedding that balance with these skills is important. Now, I found this website. This is real, willrobotstakemyjob.com, and I thought it'd be interesting to type in teachers and see what happens. So this is in 20 years, what's the prediction that teachers will be replaced? Whew, okay, only 0.95%. That's good, totally safe, we're good. I should tell you that administrators, 0.46%, so we're gonna be here longer than you teachers are. No. Now, what do you think, what are some jobs would you predict that if I typed it in, would be gone in maybe 20 years? Cashiers was a big one. I think it was like 60 to 70%. There's still gonna be the boutique stores that'll have that. That'll never completely go away. There'll be some of those boutique stores, but yes, a lot of the big chains are going all automation. In fact, Amazon Go, have you seen that store? You walk in with your phone, you swipe it, you pick some stuff off the shelf, you walk out. You're not even dealing with the person at that point. What are some other, another one I saw that was interesting was truck driver. 70% chance that there will be these automated giant, this is scary, semi-trailers going down I-35 super fast, right? All computerized. If you've seen the movie Logan, you've probably seen some examples of this, right? The big trucks coming down the street. So it's interesting to see what's shifted. Believe it or not, lawyers, sorry if there's a lawyer in the room, lawyers are actually, there's some talk that that's going to become somewhat automized too. That's not even a word. Because a lot of the things they're doing is just looking up certain facts and comparing it with laws. Well, you can have algorithms do some of that. So it's interesting to see what markets are increasing and which ones aren't. It's still about that experience. So today we'll kind of hit on these three things, looking at all that history and where we're headed, and really hitting these three things and how it plays in our schools, but also in our homes, right? And so in our district, these are hot button issues, the first two especially.